Hey, Kevin here, top 100 financial advisor and best-selling author, and we are here to talk about the stock market. We got to talk about 2022. Now, as of recording this video, I'm doing this on a Thursday, so I don't know what the market is going to do on Friday, which is by the time you're watching this. I can tell you this though. The beginning, or really like the last 2 days, hadn't been what most people expected. And I've said this time and time again. What worked last year doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work this year. And you can look at 2019, 2020, 2021, and you can start to see that each year there is a different thing. Now, the reason why the market tanked, at least the last 2 days, is because of the Fed notes. Now, I've been talking about this for a while too. There's just why you want to, like and subscribe and do that type of thing. Because those who have been fans of the channel and watching the channel and following on public, we've been talking about this for a while. The threat is, and this threat is becoming more real now, that the Federal Reserve is going to make some changes and raise interest rates. That usually puts a pause on how high the stock market goes, and we have what is called a rotation, which means that people are taking money from some sectors of the market and putting them in others. And what they tend to do is move them into places that they think do well in terms of interest rates, or when interest rates go up, these are the sectors that tend to do well. So I'm going to go over a few of those and why they tend to work. Now, if we want to go into a deeper section of these, y'all know what to do in the comments. So I'm going to go over maybe 3 or 4 of them, and I might call out a few stocks here or there. If we say, look, talk more about this sector, then we can do, top 3 or 4 stocks in each of those sectors, which would be fun. We can do that for forever. So feel free to let me know. And I do have the other stocks that y'all want me to cover. I do have those on the list, and we'll tackle those or kind of get those recordings together over the weekend. All right, so here's what we know. We've been saying for quite a while now that at some point the Federal Reserve has to raise interest rates. What are interest rates? This is basically what we pay to borrow money on your home, your credit card, stuff like that. When interest rates are low, it encourages people to go out and spend. It encourages economic growth. That is the point, because I may not have bought my house if I could not get an interest rate as low as it was. It was like 3% or something ridiculously low, whereas my parents were paying 6 or 7 or whatever they paid, 1990 or whatever that was. Obviously they refinanced, but you get the point, right? It encourages people to get out and spend more and to spur the economy on. Well, there is a side effect of that where you get so much money out there, so many people spending, and a supply chain shortage where you get inflation. And that is when stuff is exploding too high. It's too much money out there chasing too few goods. Way too much money out here sitting in my pocket, and I still can't get a PS5, so people take it and they jack up the prices on eBay. That is the most salient example there. But that's what's going on. So the Federal Reserve says, look, well, let's be really aggressive and raise interest rates, slow borrowing down just a little bit and make it a little bit more expensive, and make people think twice before borrowing money, think twice before, going out and making that big purchase. And if the demand slows down, then prices will come back down and make things a bit more affordable for everybody, and everything is fine. That is the economic theory behind all of this. And most times it works, but not all the time. And there's a bunch of different reasons as to why it doesn't work all the time. That's a video for another day. So when this happens, what are the few areas of the market that tend to do well during these times? Because anytime you saw this last year, but you definitely saw it in the last few days, where you talk about interest rate hikes and the Federal Reserve is going to make a move, or they're going to taper. We've done a video on that. The market's always negative because they don't like that kind of thing. So here's some areas that you want to keep an eye on in 2022. And I'm going to pull this up. Okay, so the first one is financials. I've been talking about financials for forever. They did pretty well last year. I think it was the second or third best performing sector. Now, I chose Capital One. From the time that I bought it, Capital One really didn't do what I wanted to do. However, from January to December, they were up like 60-some-odd%. So they still did well. They did do well for me, which is why I'm holding on to them for a little while longer. Another great company, we talked about Ally. We did Ally versus Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs works here too. Bank of America works here, works in this category. A lot of good banks that you may want to keep an eye on. Even regional banks, I think Signature Bank, SBNY, I think is a ticker symbol there. That's one I've had my eye on as well. But there are tons of really easy banks that I think if you're buying them for 2022, this might be the time. I really think last year would have been the time, but this still works this year, and there's several regional and smaller banks that you can pay attention to as well. Other areas and sectors that also make sense during this time are a lot of those defensive stocks and good dividend companies. So the first things that come to mind are like Lowe's and Home Depot. People, when rates are going up and the market's a little choppy, they say, look, I'm going to go somewhere where I can get a good solid dividend. Lowe's and Home Depot are some of the best places for that. Also, real estate investment trusts, REITs, are another great place to do that as well. One of my favorite is AMT. It's the one that I have in my IRA, plays a good dividend. They gonna be here, they're not going nowhere. Okay, also PLD, Prologis, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, that was one that I added, and it was a REIT because of what's going on right now. And usually these REITs, again, because they're real estate, they're not really going anywhere. They pay a good dividend, which is why people tend to go to them. And depending on where they are and what they do, they're usually solid. So American Tower, for example, they own a lot of the cell towers that AT&T and Verizon, T-Mobile, and whoever, like, they need those towers to survive. They usually lease those out to American Tower, and American Tower gets paid that way. And my cell service is not going nowhere. Either way you want to cut it, American Tower REIT is getting paid. Okay, so that's another place. So you got financials, you got real estate, you got REITs, and then you also have a lot of those good dividend paying stocks are out there too. I want to emphasize the word good. So some that pay dividends that are trash. Okay, so we can go over those. And actually, no, I did a video on some of my best dividend paying stocks. So go back and check that one for more specific details there. All right, other places that tend to do well, healthcare. I've talked about this a little bit before. Healthcare is going to be healthcare, right? At the end of the day, whether interest rates are high or low or anywhere in between, you got to take care of your health. And that's going to be it. Now, one of the biggest companies that are in this space and they get mentioned quite often is United Healthcare. I personally don't invest in it. I haven't done any research on it other than the fact that I know it's up like 30% in the last year. It was up, I think, 20% in the last 3 months or so. Let me double check that. Let's see. 3 months. Yeah, 19.7% as of today. There's United Health Group, ticker symbol UNH. And that's just in the last 3 months. It was up close to 20%. Again, I'm not here to say, hey, you should invest in it, because I haven't done my own research here. However, it is a very popular name in this space. The last time I looked at was like 2017 or so. I should have kept it. Actually, no, I should have invested in it. I did research, I liked it, and just never pulled the trigger. Yeah, sucks for me. But it is a name that you do want to have on your list in times like this. And then one of the other places is energy. Now, energy was, I think it was the best performing sector in 2021. But energy scares me. Energy scares me for a few reasons. You can go the whole global climate change aspect. You can certainly say that, depending on what type of energy you're talking about. But energy up until last year was one of the worst performing sectors for nearly a decade. And just, if I'm from Oklahoma, so I've seen these boom and bust types of economies where, hey, you got oil and everything's great, and then oil doesn't do well, and then everything's terrible and we can't fund schools. That's what it's like in Oklahoma. So, in times where you have inflation, in times where interest rates are changing, people go to energy because, like, at the end of the day, you have to use energy. But also, there's a psychology of it. When we raise interest rates to slow things down, the assumption is that the economy is doing well, that people are out and people are traveling and doing all these amazing things, and we have to slow down people just a little bit and say, look, the economy's doing great. Let's cool it off just a bit, which says that if you are doing great, right, and you have to bring down rates because you're doing so great, then you're out there spending energy, you're driving more, you're using more electricity, you're traveling more. All of these things are the hint to say energy stocks have to go up. So whether it's an oil company or an electric energy company or a company that helps to create those things, these are places that tend to do well in times like this. Now, the only caveat with all of these is you still got COVID. And we don't know what in the world is going on with how that could impact any of these. Now, in terms of making the most money of all of these, it's going to be financial or energy, in my view. energy being probably the best place, but also the most risky. So if you were to tell me, if we're fast forward to December 2022 and energy lost the most money, I wouldn't be shocked at all. If energy made the most money, I wouldn't be shocked at all. It's like that for energy. If I'm looking for, not the most risky thing, but decent risk, but I think I'm probably gonna make a ton of money or the most money out of this, I'm shooting for financials. I've been on that for a while. I think financials is gonna make you the most money with the safest quote unquote margin. Meaning I don't see there is not a scenario in my view where financials could fail. That doesn't mean that you choose the wrong company. Doesn't mean you can't lose money. You certainly could, but I'm saying I think that is like the quote-unquote safest bet here. Dividends and defensive stocks, they're going to be fine. They're almost always fine. That's why they're defensive. And the healthcare, I think, is going to be good. I just don't think in my view, I don't think you're really going to see anything that, it's up 50%, and this stock changed my life. Now, I like me some Costco that fits into this category, and it was up close to 40%. So it can happen, but I think there are more, Goldman Sachs's, SBNY's. I think there are more financial companies that do what Costco did last year than what you're gonna find in defensive categories and in healthcare outside of, let's say, Moderna or something like that, which wasn't crazy in 2021. So those are my thoughts. Again, it's financials, dividend stocks, which, to me, dividend and defense, they're together. Energy stocks tend to do well, and then healthcare. Those are the 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the 4 areas that you want to look for in 2022 if you haven't already. I've already repositioned my portfolio to some degree in this space. It's why I kept Capital One. Some people call Target a defensive stock. I can get with that because you got to go and get your groceries at Super Target, got to get your clothes and stuff anyway, and it pays a dividend. So I'm sticking with Target. Some places I'm sticking with. The other thing you want to know too is 2 things. Sorry, this is getting long. Just coming to me as I'm thinking. The tech names, not necessarily like, yes, Microsoft and Google, maybe an Amazon or even an Apple. Those might be okay. They might be okay, but a lot of the high-flying tech names that, let's say, Unity Software was definitely one of those last year. There are tons of tech names that aren't necessarily profitable yet, and when interest rates go up, those types of stocks get hurt the most, and that's what you've seen in the last few days. So be careful of that. Be real careful about a lot of these IPOs that could be coming out in 2022 as well. I was going to say 2, but as well, just as a general warning. So be careful about that. And then lastly, what most people do is they don't make these adjustments year to year, and they stick with whatever worked the last year and just ride it through. And yesterday's price ain't today's price. Okay, so we've seen this before. Travel stocks that people really liked in, let's say, 2020 didn't really pan out the next year. Stuff like, I used to say this one all the time, but like, Uber or Zoom. Zoom was the one I talk about all the time, where it was on fire in 2020, and in 2022 it was on fire, but not in a good way. So you always want to make these little tiny tweaks to kind of put you in the best position for the year to come. That doesn't mean that you have to sell and get rid of everything. You saw what I did on Public. We got rid of Square, we got rid of Disney. That was really it, and we just added 2 more that I think are best for now, which was a REIT, real estate investment trust, which is one that falls into his where it falls under the dividends. We got that, and then we kept the financial company that we had. So you don't have to move and shake everything in life, just a few things here and there to put yourself in position and then hopefully succeed for 2022. All right, so that is it for now. We will adjust this as the year goes on, because it's definitely going to be something crazy that's going to happen this year. We just don't know what it is yet. All right, that is it for me. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.